gotten to a point now, being 40 years old, being in masters and stuff like that. As Bryant talked about in the programming, we already developed a strength base, a bench pressing 525 pounds. So it's like there's no point in trying to go so heavy all the time and not feel what you're working. And after injuries and stuff like that, I've been really liking to use the Smith machine, because even you don't have to constantly nag people for spots. Like Johnny Jackson was talking about, you can just, re-rack it if you get stuck. And like here, you're gonna see I'm gonna play the angles. I'm gonna start on like a bench press, but I'm gonna bring my grip closer in. What that does is engages more the inner pecs and the tricep. Then what I'll do is move the angles up from 15 to 30 degrees. And what that does is works more the pec minor, the top part of your chest. Now he has to play the angles. We went from like more of a medium close grip, more inner pec. From a flat bench, I moved the incline up to 15 degrees. Due to injuries, tricep, really to build your pecs. Dorian Yates used to always talk about overruling bench. You really can build your chest even more with incline. Really good power lifters that are awesome benchers, Josh Bryant will tell you this, they're not engaging their pecs when they lift that much weight. They're doing more shoulder and tricep and arching, whether it be bench from the fence, trying to get the weight from point A to point B. But the problem with that is, for bodybuilding, you're not engaging the mind-muscle connection. So when you work on specific exercises that are core movements, you want to focus more on muscle and tension, where you're feeling the muscle work. It's not just about point A to point B and 1 rep maxing. A lot of people will do the rows. You always want to use straps because you can pull them over your back. When you use straps, you can focus more on the neuromuscular mind-muscle connection. A lot of people go too heavy without the straps and they miss the whole point of focusing on their grip, and they pull with their arm and not their back. They're using their bicep. So the way I like to do it, like this is more like a moderate weight. While I'll warm up, I know all you youngsters that masturbate, that's enough to work on your forearm strength. But you just do, your lighter sets. Try not to always just use the straps. Use them on the heavier weight, but don't get lazy. I mean, like, okay, this might be heavy for the average Joe, but like a certain weight that you could warm up with, you don't need to wear the wrist straps yet. Big back, big bench, Big Tex, hardcore. Okay, that was what you call a cambered bar row. If you notice too, when the weight got heavier, I try not to swing as much and let the arms hang to be careful from injury. Bryant, we've studied, all the pros and stuff, and even on deadlifts, he'll make me double overhand, strap up for safety precaution. Bodybuilders kind of play by different rules, man. When you got a lot of arm development, it's a lot easier to tear stuff. So range of motion is very important on back. You saw I was getting that full stretch and trying to pull it as good as I could with 4 plates. And it's harder on that because it's not like a prison T-bar row where you can use some momentum in your body to explode the weight up. So that's basically more like we're focusing on more muscle intention and putting more isolation on the muscle too, even with a harder rowing movement like that, which could be, like I say, you would still mix it, like even in a power building routine, that would be mixed with deadlifts or something else. So it's like I say, doing the straps and just trying to maintain good posture alignment, good form is the important way. I know a lot of people think it's cool when, I'll admit I'm guilty of even getting stupid crazy sometimes and throwing weight around, but you got to train smart, because trust me, if you get injured, injuries are no fun and you don't want to have setbacks. Yeah, it's called a seal row, or you could call it a cambered bar row, if I'm correct. The bar bends right here, you see? So you see the inside of it. So you get more of a deeper squeeze as you come up on the weight. doing what you call a pre-exhaust set. You start with like a fly, and then we're here, I'm moving up again to it. But this incline, if you look at it, it's a little bit higher. It's 45 degrees. Like these machines, because like I say, with the injury to my tricep and having it heal, just to be more safe, neuromuscular, you can feel more of the mind-muscle connection and what you're working. So it's just something like different I like to do. You can kind of use this more in pre-contest training or even in the off-season. I like to do it because I think Arnold even said it in his book, Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. You can go over body types. People with a mesomorphic frame, you can put weight on a lot easier. So that you can work on shape right from the beginning. So stuff like flies and stuff like that, overloading flies, all that's gonna do is get more help of feeling what you're working, and that way when you do a pressing movement, yeah, you can't use quite the same weight, but you're still stimulating the muscle because you're going from isolation to, you know, pressing movement. So I'll take second overall to that. I don't give a shit. All right. Nice.
What was that called again?
It's called just a compound set. Instead of supersetting, it's where you put like two movements together, you know, like two different muscle groups. Like say if I went from a press to a dumbbell row, a push to a pull. Instead, I did the same muscle group together, a compound set. So you started with a pressing movement, and then you went to an isolation movement, a fly. So I know they have all the different lingos. That's just as a kid when I learned how to actually fucking read how they put it in the Flex magazine workouts. So here, just doing a little blood flow. I'll put the stack or whatever that is. The machine is a little different on the weight, but like I say, the more muscle and tension, working with what I got, trying to be careful. So I start from, this is what you call a superset, because you're mixing a push-pull. So I go from the machine bench press, then I'll snag those 200s and row them each hand. So you see how you go from a push-pull. So that's the difference between a compound set is two muscle groups are not compared together, or paired together. It would be two muscle groups are in a superset. In a compound set, it would be like a chest, so it'd be a press and a fly. That's the difference. Hopefully that explains it. Superset. A friend of mine, Dennis Dutch Holt, passed away unfortunately right after a friend of mine, David Shackerley, passed away. I was one of the first winners of his show, the Upstate Classic. Kind of out of appreciation to him, to give him a hat tip, I was going to go to South Carolina if the funds are there in mid-October, October 17th, and get re-qualified at his show, because it's been since 2016, 2018 I was making a comeback and I had setback, I had the injury, so do that, and then I would like to get ready for Masters, Nationals the following year in Pittsburgh. That's kind of like the way I'm doing it. I had different plans, but this COVID stuff happened, so sometimes you got to adapt or perish and go with what you can work with. So the whole idea is I've already proven, and I'll say it on camera, I don't really give a shit, that I'm good enough to be an IFBB pro, and I'll prove it again.